Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. How you doing?
Good, good. What about you?
I'm good, thank you. Where are you based?
I'm in Rome, Italy.
Oh, Roma. Lovely.
Yeah, thank you. What about you?
Brooklyn.
Awesome. That's not too bad either. Um, all right. So thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. As I've mentioned, here at Nebula, we work primarily in the commerce and T2C space. We publish our own newsletter about the intersection between retail and technology. And lately, we have been working on this new series where we interview founders and executives from either up and coming or prominent established D2C brands that we admire about their story, what's working for them, what isn't, and the biggest trends
hmm
that they're anticipating for the future.
hmm
And I stumbled into, is it Koio? Is that how you pronounce
Yep,
it?
exactly.
Yeah, so I stumbled into Koyo more or less by chance. I think I found you in a LinkedIn post somewhere. And I was really taken aback by the level of quality and refinement in your T2C experience. And also the
Mm.
fact that it's Italian leather, so that made you immediately more appealing to me. And yeah, I thought it would be nice to connect and do this piece where we tell our audience a bit more about the story of the brand, what the brand looks like today, what the distribution
hmm
looks like, the marketing, and so on, and anything else that you think is worth mentioning. Does that sound good?
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. So if you want, let's start with the story of the brand. How did it come to be?
Sure. So the brand launched about 6, 7 years ago, 2015, 2016, and it was two friends who met in business school, Chris and Johannes. They're both German, and they
Mhm.
were the only two German kids in their class, and they just immediately built a bond together and built a friendship. Both of them had come from the corporate world before school and wanted to go the entrepreneurial route.
Mhm.
They've always been a fan of footwear and sneaker culture from their German roots, and they also were surrounded by just like quality goods as well, I guess you could say, right? And so they wanted to go in the footwear space because they had a natural passion for it, and they wanted to kind of bring high quality craftsmanship and products to the states. A lot of the luxury brands that we love here in the states, they manufacture overseas in Europe, right?
Yeah.
So they wanted to kind of follow that trajectory and bring something to the states, but also be a bit more approachable, a bit more down to earth as well. Um, and yeah, so Koyo was born out of their Brooklyn apartment and got some traction when they started. What's interesting is I don't think it's like a traditional D2C story because they actually started with a retail footprint very early on. So our New York flagship store that's been around essentially since day one started as a pop up, but as the brand started growing in its early days, obviously most of the awareness and traffic came from New York, specifically downtown, specifically Soho, because they had a pop up there. So we've always had a mix of physical retail along with the D2C e-commerce side of the business. And I think that was just something that they learned early on that was important to them and to the business. And as you can imagine, in the footwear space, one of our biggest friction points that will never go away is size and fit.
Yeah.
And there's no better way to tackle that than just getting somebody into your store and actually sitting them down and trying them on in person, right? So that's always been a part of the brand and will be a part of the brand forever. But yeah, after that early kind of going success, they continued to grow the business, add more retail stores, grow the team. I jumped out about 5 years ago, running all things marketing, performance, and yeah, it's been a journey. It's been an adventure. Obviously, have had some headwinds with the pandemic and kind of the macroeconomic outlook for the coming months and year. But with that said, we're still around, still cooking, and we started with a small product portfolio, primarily business casual sneakers, you could say.
Mhm.
Now we've branched out to boots, to slides, to loafers, and also expanded the women's business quite a bit because we started primarily as a men's business. So it's been slow and steady growth, but all things considered, the headwinds, the market conditions, we're really proud with how far we've come over the past 5 to 7 years.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I'm actually really interested to learn a bit more about distribution, because back in 2015, 16, I think a lot of
Hmm.
the brands that were born in that time were, or the vast majority of them were pure play online D2C brands, will never open a store type of
I know,
thing.
yeah.
And yeah, so it's really interesting that basically from day one you had your own physical store. So do you think it was
Hmm.
primarily the nature of the product that dictated that, or was it being in New York where the fashion scene is a bit more developed, or a mix of those
Hmm.
things?
I think it was more so the nature of the product and just for the fit reasons I spoke to, but also it's really challenging to communicate a high quality product on the digital
Mm,
screen, right?
yeah,
It's quite easy, especially these days with AI generated images, to make something look really expensive, but it's hard to understand that until you actually get the product in your hands, right?
yeah,
Um, much like booking a hotel online, right? There's always this like,
yeah,
is it going to be actually nice, right? You have to like kind of show up and actually be there in the physical space. We've noticed that with our footwear, we can tell people till we're blue in the face that Koio is a high quality product, and we manufacture, in the Marche region of Italy, and we use the best materials and we use the best craftsmen. But really, you really have to again just kind of live in the product, right, and really understand that quality. Um, and yeah, the easiest way to do that, again, Occam's razor, is just like getting the product on people. And what better way to do that than in our own retail stores? At that point in time, the business was so young and new, we just didn't have the product inventory to go into wholesale or other boutiques and things like
yeah.
that. So we really had to just do it ourselves with these low risk pop-ups.
That makes a lot of sense.
Hmm.
And at what point did you start doing wholesale partnerships?
Mm, good question. We've always been trying to get into as many wholesale doors as we can. There are some limitations just with um, the amount of inventory that you have to send them. The
Yeah,
deals often take a long time to develop. Um, but we've been working with wholesale on a small scale for a while now, probably for at least 4 or 5 years. And it makes up, still a relatively small part of my business, about 10%, but there's a huge opportunity for growth there. We always want to keep the business primarily direct consumer and retail, but we understand that the opportunity to get into some of these larger wholesale partnerships will just be massive for distribution, will be massive for awareness, and net, it won't be that much of a cut on margins. Obviously, we won't be paying for acquisition costs, which continue to rise. And again, we're just trying to grow this business. And you mentioned the old kind of D2C model of, cutting out all of the middlemen, including wholesale, including retail, and just going direct to
yeah,
e-com. And I think that could work in a day and age of really cheap acquisition costs. But as those continue to rise, I think of D2C more as a launch strategy, right? But at some point, and hopefully sooner rather than later, you're going to be able to operate your own stores, or at least get into other boutiques or third-party retailers and wholesale as well, because you really do need an omni-channel approach if you have aspirations to scale your business. Um, like we do, right? We're venture backed. We obviously have a duty to grow the business as large as we can, and we just need to attack that from all angles,
yeah,
meaning retail, wholesale, third party, partnerships with other brands, things like that. This omni-channel approach, it's tried and true, and you see it across verticals within the retail environment, and I don't think you're doing yourselves any favor to work with this traditional, I say traditional because it's only been like 10 years of this D2C e-com only approach. I don't think that's the winning play anymore.
yeah. I absolutely agree. And so, in terms of team composition as you scaled your distribution and grew the brand? How has the Koio team evolved?
Quite a bit. I would say the marketing and creative is the largest team right now, which makes sense because this trend has been growing within D2C and just like consumer products in general these days. Is you really just have to be relevant at all times and just kind of churn out a ton of content, and you just need the human capital to do that. So we've heavily invested in our creative team and our marketing teams to always be producing, whether it's social media content or ad campaigns or photo shoots that can, communicate the value of our product as best as possible. With that said, we are still scrappy and lean. We along with I think everybody else in this space, we have a fixed eye on profitability and getting there as soon as possible. And the biggest way to do that is to run a lean team and operation, right? So always having an eye on the bottom line and does this initiative have a true return on investment? And those are challenging questions to answer, but it's the questions you should be asking yourself when you're onboarding any new team member or really any new initiative at your business. So with that said, we've grown the team pretty steadily over the years. Obviously, during COVID, we pulled back a bit, and yeah, the largest teams right now are that marketing and creative part.
Awesome. And so when you're planning out marketing initiatives, what are your current goals? So is it more short-term focused so you can really demonstrate the ROI or whatever it is that you're doing, or do you also do any long-term brand building work?
Yeah, I'd say right now it's about 90% short term, right? So what can we do, this week, this month,
Yeah.
Even today to drive a return on investment? There's still a small part of our team, myself, the founders, looking towards the future, obviously trying to set our brand up for success for for our end goal. And we understand that our biggest asset is our brand, right? We're a luxury price point. We have a beautiful product. We have customers that are, looking for this aspirational lifestyle and want to surround themselves with people and products that reflect that. And so we can't ignore that entirely, right? But yeah, most of what we're doing these days are, how can we, squeeze as much profit and revenue out of our customers? How can we acquire new customers at the most efficient dollars? And how can we learn what's working and double down on that? And how can we also learn what's not working so we can, cross that off the to-do list sooner rather than later? Which is something we're trying to get better at, is speeding up that feedback loop or that testing loop so we can understand what's working and not working, and again, leave the things that aren't working and double down on the things that are working.
That makes sense. And so as a follow-up question, what are some of the things that you've been testing that have performed particularly well for Koio as a brand, and what comes to mind that you thought would be a huge hit but hasn't really worked very well?
Some things that are working for us, YouTube always does well for us. So working with creators to try to get our product into reviews, spotlights, things like that, and double clicking into there. Something that didn't work within YouTube is actually working with creators and trying to basically having them fit into our brand narrative versus us fitting into their brand narrative. And it seems obvious in hindsight, but we were so focused on, you need to talk about Koio. This is what we do. This is why we're great. Go tell your audience. And that didn't really work as well. And then the creators that took an approach, we just kind of let them do what they do. Those campaigns, those videos tended to do better, which makes sense, right? Because they're the creator, they're the channel, right? They know what their audience responds to, and getting creative with how we can fit into that narrative That was kind of a 180 that we learned, maybe 6 to 12 months ago, that's been working better for us, right? So how can we more organically fit into their conversation as opposed to pivoting their conversation entirely to focus all about ourselves, right? And I think that's a learning that we're taking across channels as well, not just YouTube, but on our
Yeah.
organic social, within the current conversations in pop culture, or even the microcultures of like New York and LA where we have stores. How can we organically, enter the chat, if you will,
Yeah.
where it makes sense, as opposed to in times past, it's been more of like everyone stop what you're doing and look at us, right? And kind of throw people off that way. And it didn't work for us. But again, this trying to be a bit more thoughtful and organic with entering ourselves into the conversation where it makes sense. We've seen more success with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something that we've seen a lot of as well, especially in the past 12 months with marketing budgets getting tighter. Some
Totally.
brands do become a bit desperate to be the center of the attention. And as a
Yeah.
result, they start doing stuff that doesn't really move the needle because you're trying to make the conversation about yourself primarily, with no
Exactly.
understanding of how to actually engage that audience. And so
Exactly.
the messaging that seems to resonate is forget about your brand for a second, or think about how your brand can actually create value for that audience and how it fits within their value and their ways of thinking.
Exactly. And it's a tough practice to execute because your
Yeah.
natural instinct is no, we should talk about this, this, and this, and this. But you really just have to remind yourself over and over again.
Yeah. And how does your affiliate program play into that? Is that something that you're still actively pursuing?
We do have an affiliate program. I'd say it's more of a traditional affiliate play. So we'll
Mhm.
we'll have our agency go after certain publishers. Most of those, I guess, like lower hanging fruit, not necessarily coupon sites, but like the Rocketsons of the world. So we have that, I'd say, up and running, and I think that's table stakes right now for
Yeah.
people. But in terms of like our creator and influencer side of things, it's still more so of a pay to play. We don't have a ton of affiliate or revenue share partnerships with those
Mhm.
types of people. It still is like more black and white. It's here's X dollars, here's what we expect to get out of that, video, reel, YouTube short, things like that. Yeah, but no, I guess, more advanced pay structure with those creators just yet. Something we've been trying to explore, but we found that conversation has just been a bit challenging to have with creators. People still just want cash up front, which makes sense because that's the way the industry has been operating for years now.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. And what would you say are some of the most interesting trends that you're watching and that you think might have an impact on Koyo?
Interesting trends. Um, Something that is a little softer, and pretty specific to the fashion industry,
Yeah,
um, is this movement of like quiet luxury. So the idea of like big brands and specifically like big luxury brands, plastering their logo over everything and kind of being a bit more loud about your level of wealth, and that was a
yeah,
signal to other people around you that was like, I'm wealthy, right? I'm like a big deal, whatever you want to say. And the tables are turning in that a lot of these luxury brands, um, the Row, Jacquemus, even like Louis Vuitton's, more of the heritage luxury brands, they're stripping a lot of that away, and you can't really tell like
yeah,
what this brand is or what this product is. But you come to find out that this bag is, $4,500, right? Or like Loro Piana, or yeah, all these other, like, Brunello Cucinelli is a great example of that. They've been doing this for years, but I feel like they're having a resurgence because people are just looking to trim down and be more minimal, but still have a high quality product. And I hope that we can somehow organically, you know, enter that conversation. We obviously can't do it ourselves and be like, hey, like, we're quiet luxury as well, because
yeah,
that just reads a little backwards, right? Again, you want to be thoughtful and organic about it, but I'm really curious to see how long this trend sticks around, and obviously it's very important to us being in the fashion space. And what's nice too is, this quiet luxury is all about like minimalism as well. Like clean, minimal designs. Not too loud of colors, patterns, shapes, things like that. And most of our core products are exactly that. They're clean, they're minimal, they're elegant, they're versatile. You can dress them up, you can dress them down. All of these things we feel fit within this quiet luxury trend. And I'm excited because I think we can have a voice in that arena. I'm curious to understand how long this will last, and also curious to see if we can somehow organically and thoughtfully enter this conversation without trying to be too cheeky or on the nose about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking at the product and how you're positioning the brand, it seems like something
Hmm.
that you're already well positioned in an organic way to execute on, as you said, because the
Yeah.
product already kind of embodies those principles without saying it out loud. So it seems like a very natural path for you to follow.
Yeah,
And
we hope so.
do you think that that was accelerated or created by some of the recent economic headwinds, like people being a bit more mindful of the value that they're getting out of their products rather than seeing them as a status symbol?
Hmm. Um, yeah, I think that's safe to say. I also think just fashion trends, people are looking for more of like this like minimalism approach and just kind of clean
Yeah,
and kind of monochromatic color tones and things like that, which have been around for years now. And you can look at it even like in the interior design world. Again, a lot of monochromatic, a lot of toned down, a lot of minimalism. I think as like also like mindfulness has become more important topic in conversation and just mental health. A lot of best practices are kind of like decluttering
yeah,
your mind, decluttering your life, and that is an easy transition into minimalism across every aspect of your life, right? So whether it's your home, whether it's what you're dressing yourself with, whether it's what you're eating, right? This entire kind of minimalism trend that's been happening for years, I think, is now catching up to the luxury world, and it makes perfect sense.
yeah, absolutely. And it resonates a lot with me personally because I'm the kind of guy who buys the same T-shirt in 10 different colors. So I
Totally,
can't
there's
wait
there's a
for
lot of
more
us
people to
out
start
there.
doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Last question for you. What can we expect from Koyo in 2023, if you can tell us anything?
I can. So you can expect um, even more of a diverse product assortment, especially on our female side of the business. You can expect some really exciting collaborations. One that we're very excited about that will be based in Positano on the Amalfi
Hmm.
Coast.
Yeah.
That's coming out in May. And also you can expect some bigger strides with our sustainability and more specifically our regenerative line this year as well. So across collaborations, across product assortment, and across sustainability, those three big pillars, we're very excited to take some big steps this year and very soon as well, because springtime is our peak season. Summer is when people travel. Spring is when they buy all their outfits to travel. So we're right there with the footwear offering, obviously. So very excited for the next specifically 6 months for Koio.
Awesome. Can't wait to see that happen. All right.
Same.
I think that was pretty much it for me. Joe,
Okay.
again, thank you so much for your time. I will let you know
Yeah.
as soon as this is released, and you can use it wherever you want. Feel free to share it, edit it
Cool.
as much as you want. I think we're still debating whether we want to upload these on YouTube or edit them and publish them in written form. I think most likely we might want to do both, but
Hmm.
TBD on that. But I'll follow up with you in the next couple of weeks and let you know when it's available.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
All right.
Thanks for having me. It was a fun conversation.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Absolutely. Take care. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.